Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna be getting back to one last night because an update released today. And yeah, last one was in July, believe it or not. Let's just get started. They changed the little, oh wow. Okay, they really overhauled the aesthetic here. It'll all be okay. I doubt that. I highly doubt that. Oh boy, what voice did I give to Xavier again? Fuck. Another fucking entry to someone who is most likely extraordinarily deceased. Dear Marshall, I was so confident everything would go well yesterday. I thought it all planned down to a T. Yeah. What did I say at the end of the last video and the beginning of this one? I know my fucking genre fiction, almost to the point where I don't like it. I don't like genre fiction, honestly. It's really cliche and boring. But hey, it can be good sometimes. I should have guessed it would go wrong from the start. Our 1 year anniversary is supposed to be an incredible day. We start off with a visit to the theater, where they were showing that movie of the FBI working with a serial killer. You know the one. Really? Retarded reference. With our shared love of detective work and thrillers, I thought it'd be nice to see a classic we love on the big screen. Little did I know, a small fire that morning had shut the Bill place down for the day. Next was the dinner at the restaurant first date, place where our love truly came to blossom. Dude, he's fucking dead. On the way out, we pick a bouquet of roses, a bit stereotypical, but still romantic in my eyes. Of course, the restaurant had overbooked and our scene was delayed, putting the rest of the evening on hold. Then, as we finally seated and served our food, somewhere at your nearby table, it knocked into the waiter, resulting in your white shirt staining that purplish red hue. Appreciate both of their furious apologies, but we know it wasn't on purpose. It's not like they tried to sabotage the date. Fate was trying to do that on its own. Fate isn't real. Fate's not a fucking thing. When finally we left, the evening was being drawn to a close and nothing had gone as I had hoped. Oh no, how terrible. You got to spend a day with your lover and you're complaining about it. Flower card had sold out for the day, and just some fancy buyer purchased every last thing, even the order I had waiting. Ice cream shop was closed despite the fact we sprinted in a futile attempt to get there. So I led us to one place where nothing would get in our way. I sat down on the park bench facing the waterfront. I stared out upon the lake and thought back on how we'd met here. Our 1 year anniversary was supposed to be an incredible day. Oh, dude. You spent the day with him. Is that not good? It was. Nothing went as planned, and some might say it's a disaster with how it went. Instead, I seized a roll of having our time together. When we saw what happened at the theater, we joked about how we needed to investigate for ourselves. Still in awe of how you nearly managed to get those cops to let us in. You really do have a way with people. He's dead. Out of breath after fleeing the scene, we barely had time to catch it again as we doubled over in laughter. I knew neither of us would mind waiting at the restaurant because, after all, the day was supposed to be done with each other. Only further proved I could spend an insurmountable amount of time talking to you and never get bored. You always know how to hold a conversation. When the wine got spilled, the shock on his face we laughed over the coincidence was hysterical. Who would have expected 2 years in a row you get wine spilled on you here? I've always said you'd look good in red. Despite the flower cart being empty, I spotted some purple wildflowers growing out the sidewalk. Though you rolled your eyes, I know you enjoyed the excessive displays that presented you as a token of my love. God, you fucking cheeseball. What the hell? Couldn't resist the opportunity to respond back, bigger and bolder, really give my performance a run for its money. Too bad we couldn't get that ice cream, though. Pint was at your place was great, but nothing beats some good soft serve. The evening finally ended with a mess on a bench. Oh my god. Good grief. Didn't matter what plans been led astray, yada yada. What was. Cool. I was wondering if you were that petty of a narrator. Just wondering. Kept a smile on my face the whole time, never let me be saddened for a second over the whole thing. Sometimes plans can go wrong, but that's perfectly okay. Just take it in stride and move on. Face the future whatever it may hold. Oh my god, you cheesy motherfucker, he's dead. Ugh. Oh boy, they're in the tent again. Oh, this is new. It's cool. Change the little thing at the bottom. Hmm. Eh, boy. Stretching my arms into the air, I listened to the whisper of the wind as it brushed against the nylon fabric surrounding me. It's a pleasant sound, one I'd heard every night I'd camped upon the cliff face. There was a comfort and a familiarity to it. However, there was a lack of warmth next to me that I'd felt the previous 2 nights. Xavier had already left the tent, sat on the edge for a while last night watching the sun fully set. Once it had, the two of us made our way back to the makeshift camp where Xavier called it a night. Offered for some food to take to him before he slept, but he brushed me off as he went to rest. Couldn't really blame him either. None of this would be easy to take in all at once. It must seem like never-ending bad news. At the moment, all I can really do is be there for him, offer him support when he needs it, and give him space to process things. Maybe he'll write in the journal even to help clear his mind like I do. Going through morning ritual, I picked up the pace a bit, so I was to check on Xavier sooner. Can't say I'm not worried about the kid. Again, with that dumb joke, got my sphere. I step out, the tent glance around the campsite. Half expected to find the bat resting on the ledge, but he isn't anywhere in my eye line. Heart sank a bit at the idea that maybe he'd left to go on his own. I understood the appeal of journeying by yourself, but I thought he'd enjoy my company. I know I certainly enjoyed his. It's a good companion. Took another look around the area, trying to see if I'd missed something. There, ready to claim Xavier's quiver. Rushed over to it, thoughts flooding my mind as I scanned the air for more details. Something happened to him? There didn't seem any signs of a struggle or anything out of place the night prior besides this. Wouldn't have let something this important behind if he'd left on his own. Still carried all the weight of his belongings. Someone could have gotten the jump on him, knocking him out with something to take him away. I've heard stories of bandits doing that before, but I assume they were just rumors they spread themselves in order to build up their reputation. They left behind Xavier's belongings to make him easier to transport if that were the case. Someone was already running unnecessarily rampant over situations like that. I had to calm down. Simple breathing exercise would work best here. Closed my eyes and repeated the action, muttering what I was doing as I went. Oh my god, seriously. For a few moments I managed to compose myself so I could think properly. I swear this dude is literally no personality. Oh, okay. There's Xavier again. Upside down because he's a bat. Haha, very funny. Honestly, my old Xavier voice really, I don't think fits him. It doesn't fit him at all, so I'm gonna have to change it because doing this one all the time wasn't for me to do emotion with it. I'm not able to, so I'm gonna change it. What are you doing? Ugh. Looked up to see he was hanging upside down from a tree. A look of confusion on his face shifted into his smile. Easy there, old man. Don't want you to break a hip. Matt sat upward from the branch. His legs were curled around, shifting his weight to hop off into the ground. Upon landing, he walked over and reached a hand out to me, which I graciously took. Getting myself back onto my feet. Mikhail, you just seemed panic a moment ago. She also went pants as I looked at him. Fine, I was just worried about where you went. Why? I saw your stuff sitting here and thought something might have happened to you. Blush creeped onto Xavier's cheeks at that. Oh, I appreciate it, but don't need to worry about that. I'm not planning to go anywhere without you yet. Heart flutter momentarily at the notion he'd stick by my side. It's nice reassurance to know I'd have a friend around for a while. The moment, though, I was still curious about something. It's good to hear, but I'm confused. Why were you hanging upside down from a tree? Doesn't that perpetuate the stereotype? I guess so, yeah. Me, though, I do it because it helps me think. For everything recently, I needed it. It's barely just noticeable, but I caught sight of his shoulders sagged ever so slightly before correcting themselves. I had enough time to think about it for now, though. I'd rather get a start in the day ahead. Crouching over, he picked up his quiver and started to move toward the campsite. Matt tried to move past me, put a hand on his shoulder to stop him. You know, you're not alone here. It's okay to let yourself feel over this. I'm here for you if you need to talk about it. Xavier released a shuddering sigh at my words and brought his gaze to mine. Okay, I'm going to change it again, because it's too different from the one that he had, so... I know, Alex, I know. Not right now. Not right now, though, not here. We can talk when we get to Haven, okay? I'd rather do it somewhere I can feel properly safe. Out in the woods without tenders, our shelters really match up requirements. Gave him a smile and nodded, taking my hand off of him. Alright, whenever you're ready. In the meantime, though, mind making us some breakfast? Grin returned to his face. He went off to tackle the task at hand. West of the sky, seeing the longer dawn was still present. We'd reach Haven by tomorrow morning at our current pace. As an idea began to form in my head on a way to take Xavier's mind off current events, I figured it wouldn't hurt to take a little more time to get there. So I turned back towards the wood and started my search. You're gonna get attacked by one of those things, aren't you? Finished scooping dirt into the ashes of the fire, Xavier walked towards me, the tent packed up and being carried under his arm. Spoke up as he attached it to the bottom of my pack. That should be everything, right? We're all good to head out now. Not quite. There's something more to do first. What's that? Bat fumbled as the branch I tossed it to him. First fencing lesson. Xavier blinked, confused. Oh, good grief. Really? Right now? Why don't we wait until tomorrow at Haven? Because, as I've said, you never know what might happen. Plus, with that first Morse code lesson in our belts, I need even the mentor playing field. Bat rolled his eyes at that, a smirk on his face as he slid the quiver off to the ground. Again with the movie stereotypes. Never hurts to be cautious. Doesn't mean you always need to seek out how life imitates art, old man. I absolutely do. How else am I going to establish myself as a main character? Xavier laughed at my retort. This MC has zero personality. Whoever said you are a protagonist? Why wouldn't I be? Because I'd make a much more appealing lead. Oh, really? Absolutely. Seems I'm learning most of the things about this word all at once. It would make sense for it to develop my perspective. The viewer learns along with the other as we go, which makes it easier for them to relate to me. I'm also single, meaning there's more opportunities for romance to brew with me. Total main character package. Let's see why it'd be appealing for sure, but it's a trope that gets used so often that someone would find it refreshing to have some more experienced at that. I have my own goal established already that is sure to get people interested in having you around. Lets me explain things to the audience. Handsome, cunning, and brave, the three traits people love to see in any hero. Oh, so you're a hero now. Always have been. Oh my god. God fucking, I hate this already. Maybe it'll get better, but I hate this fucking pointless banter that does not progress the plot at all. It just makes the characters more appealing or something, which is important. It's very important, but like, my god, main character is such a fucking bland personality. They're just so bland. Really can't see them going anywhere. As a character, that needs to change because they're so fucking obsessed with Marshall, which I really hope the author takes it the route of, oh, he's actually dead, and he's going to have to deal with that fact. Of course, that's a bit too cliche. So maybe it would be better if Marshall was actually alive, but they'd grown apart so much in their separation that they're no longer compatible. That would actually be interesting. It's also really cliche, but nah, whatever. And what was that to make me? Isn't it obvious? My sidekick. You wish, old man. Care to prove me wrong, then? Hoist my own branch in the direction of the bat. Ship into a ready stance. I'd love to. He raised his own stick to me in response. Oh my god. Move forward, clashing the tip of my replacement blade with Xavier's. There needs to be an apostrophe there. Right there, needs to be apostrophe. Knocked it out of the way with ease and put the end towards his chest. You gave me a run for money there, huh? Grin broadened at my gloating. I'm just warming up. The brand. Oh my god, it's just a fucking. Why are people so needlessly competitive for no goddamn reason? Doesn't make any sense to me. Put the branch in the same position once more, and I did the same. On guard. Two of us can eat our prize for another 20 minutes or so. Sounds of our clashing branches and shuffling. That's a misspelling of feet. You need two E's, not that, because that's like a feat of nature, or stuff like that. But you needed two E's there, buddy. That's not the word you were looking for. Well, he tried his best to score a point against me, and I watched a performance and called out tips as we went. Sure, it might have been better to explain the basics to him, for lack of a better term, right off the bat, but I was curious to see how he could adapt to the fencing in his own. Considering he came close to scoring against me a few times in the process, he was a faster learner than expected. Built an odd sense of pride bubbling up my chest over it. Maybe there really was something to all this mentor business that movies like to hype up so much. You know what? I'm gonna keep a note of how many typos there have been. There's been 2 so far, so you're off to a good start. There's enough train like this for the moment. Good work, kid. Thanks, Alex. Reached into his pack to get a bottle of water, and I did the same, stretching out my muscles in the process while he sat. It's happier now, more than ever, that I'd taken the time the last few years to start working out again like I had in high school. Not only had the exercise proven useful during the apocalypse, the mental clarity I felt both during and after was incredibly satisfying and proved useful in sorting my thoughts. A process that also proved to be a great stress reliever, especially when done with a friend. Focusing back on the situation at hand, I put the water back in my bag and walked over to Xavier to him up. Final lesson over the road. Now that I've seen your natural skill set, I want to teach you a few basic things that help improve your ability. Get into the starting position and motion for Xavier to do the same. Your beginning stance is called en garde. Take your dominant arm and hold it outward, leaning with the corresponding leg. Take yourself forward my right leg and hold the tree branch out. Since you're left-handed, you'll extend your left arm and leg and arm, equipped with whatever weapon you'll have. Normally, you'll be using a fencing foil, but you'll likely have to adjust other ornaments. Xavier mimics my stance, mirroring me as best he can. Notice that I keep my knees bent above my toes. It'll help keep your movement sharp. He watches him to correct himself, the playful part of my brain kicking into high gear. He wants to tease me with my low media. I know exactly the scene to recreate here. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. I walk over to the bat without a word, press myself to his back, and hold him tight as he suddenly tenses. What are you... Helping. Just relax. Tap myself to the curve of his body, making adjustments to the way he's positioned to hear his breathing quicken. My hands caress his forearms as I bring his elbows in the crooks of mine while working around the wing, gently moving them in a way that will help his pose. Simultaneously, my knees are adjusting his to make sure they align properly with his toes. Tell Xavier enjoys the touch, clean even contact that we're so long alone. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that, because of course it's not. This is a furry visual novel where everyone needs to be just inexplicably horny all the fucking time for some goddamn reason, I swear. You can never have a fucking protagonist in these anymore that isn't a complete horn dog. Fucking hell. It's ridiculous. I mean, Echo Chase wasn't like that, thankfully. He was actually a character. Unlike, I mean, some people will tell you he was a bland protagonist, but he very much was not. The blandness was because of his possession, obviously, and the fact that people can't, whatever. Warmth of our bodies so close, I saw my hands down his sides to fix his posture, lingering at his hips as we stand there. Oh my god. Satisfied to step back from the bat with a smug smile, knowing that my teasing went perfectly. See the redness cheeks from here. Tease was also not without purpose either, as it stands as perfect as I've ever seen from a beginner. Point to Alex. There you go, that's how you should be starting off. How does that feel? Like you're a teasing asshole. So even mutters his response, low enough that I can't catch it. What was that? I said it feels natural. Not entirely convinced it's what he said, but I'll let it slide for the time being. I'm sorry, if you couldn't hear it, then the text should have been basically invisible for us, because this is supposed to be from his perspective. And if we're able to see what he said, unlike the character in the VN who hasn't seen what he said, that I'm pretty sure that's a bit of a diegetic. Just a bit bad. Not entirely convinced that's what he said. Yeah, I read that. Next, we'll cover the advance. Do I need you to fill me up for this part too? I laugh at the snark. Don't worry, I'm fun for the time being. Really, dude? You're supposedly lusting over your fucking boyfriend that is, 100% still alive. He's totally still alive. Okay. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense, yeah. Cool. And you start with your forward foot and then move with your back one. Make sure your heel lands first, not your toes. Dig up on guard once more to display the advance, extending the tree branch forward. Then do the opposite with the retreat. Back leg, then front leg. Follow my instructions to finish the example, gesturing for Xavier to follow suit. His first attempt is somewhat wobbly, but after a few tries, he gets the hang of it. Excellent. Lastly, we'll cover the lunge. Actually get your foil to your opponent. This is the move you need. You want to kick your front leg forwards and push off with your back one. Demonstrate the action for him. You have to find the move that suits you best for this, the more you practice. Some prefer to carry their leg high for more airtime, while others go further forward. It all depends on the person. Watch as he follows my instructions, testing out a few different styles before finding one that he seems to enjoy. And that should cover the basics for the moment. Think you'll be ready for our next bout? Smile crosses Xavier's face as he puts the sticks down and grab our bags. You won't know what hit you, old man. Sheriff final laugh as we glance at the campsite for anything we might have left behind. Xavier, another apostrophe you need to put there, buddy. That's three typos I've seen so far. 3 typos, 3 points against the author right there. Point 3. Oh boy. Xavier's eyes lingering towards the cliff. He shakes his head as if to snap himself out of it. Bat speaks up as I turn to leave. No goodbyes this time, Alex. No need. I visited this site many times before. I don't need to bid it farewell again. Wow, you knew an old dog could learn such new tricks. I gave him a shove and laughed as we turned the trail opposite the one we came, ready to finish our trek into the city. It was a tense change, it feels like. Wouldn't be a long journey until we made it to the suburbs, bringing what I'd consider the first half of our journey to a close. It took a few moments for conversation to be struck up to review the schedule for the day. It's fairly simple. Make our way out of the woods, journey through the suburbs, give Xavier a lesson on scavenging, and walk a bit more before calling it a night. Taking a glance at the sky above, we seemed to be right on track, if not a bit ahead of schedule. Haven was only a day away. Couldn't help but wonder how everyone was faring there in the weeks that had been gone. May not have been the longest time, but life had a way of changing things in an instant. The fuck is this goddamn heron music in the background. Good grief. Someone like the slight of a position in the council to help keep things running smoothly, but who could it have been? Knew a few other eyes in the job before I left. Whoever it was certainly deserved a chance of helping everyone. Maybe Thea or Oliver had finally stepped up. Twins were incredible at what they did, and either was more than worthy in my eyes. German shepherds were a main asset in keeping the camp clothed and armed, both being prodigies in their respective fields of blacksmithing for the former and fashion for the latter. Hell, if we both ended up on there, then the camp wouldn't know what hit 'em. Smiled at the fond memories I'd had with the two, my mind branching out, recalling all the good times I'd had there, the countless lives I'd saved. It could be good to be back, at least for a little while. Xavier would be able to make some more friends and have a safe place as well. Oh, but they're not going to trust him. There's going to be some cliche about, oh, why'd you bring a stranger back to camp? He can't be trusted. Oh no, there's going to be a coup or something, and blah, blah, blah. I'd have to leave eventually, though, depending on how urgent the news they had for me was. Probably wanted to leave Xavier there to give him a chance to relax. The other part, how available a friend he was to me and long enough on my side. In the end, the decision would be completely up to him. Stay at Haven or accompany me on my journey. The choice was his and his alone. For 2 days together, I felt like I understood relatively well how the bat worked. You don't. Don't make assumptions like that. That's. Sure, he'd stay with me, especially after his comment this morning. Yet the sliver of doubt that he wouldn't, me realize I really didn't know all too much about him. We parted, there were so many questions I wouldn't get to ask. This time I broke the silence between us first and start a conversation to know him better. So, what's up? Nice weather we're having, huh? Shot me a glare as I mocked him for how we started our talk yesterday. Is this you trying to score more points over me, or did you actually want to talk? Why not both? Matt rolled his eyes. Good luck with that, old man. I don't need luck if I'm natural. Naturally balding, maybe. What was that? So what's on your mind? Little prick. I'm hoping to get to know you better, actually. It's been a while talking about me yesterday, but I'm curious to hear more about my favorite bunker bat boy. Aren't I your only bunker bat boy? Oh, that's a mouthful. It's really not. Bunker bat boys bear rarity, but blink or bow bemusedly and you'll be behind. Huh? So there's a mouthful. Just wanted to make it an even bigger one. Another eye rolls, I brought things back on track. The point being that I know there are a few sensitive areas, so I figured I'd let you guide your way through things. I'd love to, but I think it would help if to give a more specific guideline. Just you. Took a moment to recall my personal guide for getting to know someone. I had to do it plenty in the last year, so I'd grown accustomed to it. Internet friends and the bunker were things I knew I was better off avoiding for the moment, but I could touch on his personal details. How about hobbies? Everyone seems to have a few of those lying around. Well, I spent a lot of time studying and learning, honestly. There's all kinds of things you can read about. That's me. Hello, that's me, right there, in those. Cool. How about the MS code in the first place? I've read about a lot about history, seeing how those ancient civilizations evolved into modern society. Wow. It's me again. Hello, Morse code, I'll learn that in line. Somewhat. History, read a shit ton of history. Hello, it's me. Evolution in particular always got my eye. Why could some species adapt to walk upright and speak all kinds of languages, while others seem to stay stagnant in the process? It's actually an interesting question in this universe because there are animals and then there are furries. It's a bit weird. Yeah, that's just a bit strange. There's all sorts of theories regarding it. Unfortunate few mention eugenics, but tying it into history, there's even more interesting aspects. Ancient ruins had drawings of the process that made people walk upright. It's possible they knew how we started, but couldn't. But since we can't properly decipher their languages, the origins are lost to time. Even still, that which has survived and indicated could be chalked up to just nonsense due to lack of technology. Then, if you put different religions into play, you get to counter these new perspectives. Every idea comes from somewhere, right? Who knows the sorts of things that were lost due to the centuries that have passed? We're currently living in an event that will be considered a huge part of history. Our names could be passed down for generations. That's weird. That's the thing though. Everything has happened in like the past, the 2000s, the 2000s and 2010s. Like, holy shit, so much happened in that amount of fucking time, and we have no idea how that's going to affect future generations. To be completely honest, it's a weird thought. It's interesting to think about. That's for damn sure. Of course, in the context of what this game that he's saying is about, like, yeah, obviously, they're living through a fucking apocalypse. You think that's a good thing? Why wouldn't it be? Just say our. You just said that our names could be passed down, meaning that everything we do in the moment has a significant weight to it. Our stories could be told, but who's to say ours will be on the right side of history? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think it would be hard to be on the wrong side if we're just trying to survive. Besides, the same could be said for all this happened. We always bear the burden of history that future generations will come to learn. Boy. If we worry too much about what will be, we'll lose sight of things we have now. Not to Xavier's point. Talks so far much about him. But to understand him better. He may have been a bit dense socially, but when it came to other things, he was a well of knowledge. Hello. Stop. Stop. Stop calling me out, game. Stop. Nicely put, kid. Thank you, other than that sort of stuff, though. Most obviously, I took up archery. What about it drew your interest? Honestly, not much at first. My parents told me I had to choose some method of defense in my early teens. Most of it was close combat stuff, but I prefer to learn something that won't cover me in bruises. Hence archery. But why make you learn one at all? Most parents would rather have their kid take up a sport with a ball. Wish I knew. They never really explained it to me. Just like that, I was left with more questions about the Bat's history. At least it came in handy, if I can ask. Were they the end is nigh type of people? Not that I saw. They were protective kind, but I don't think they were the doomsday prep type. Then why they were bunker? The storage. They told me it came with the house and not a feature. I'm still suspicious, but I sense the precedent further would make things uncomfortable. On the topic, what part of the city do you live in? We lived on the outskirts. You know those scattered houses you can see when driving out of town? That was us. I visited the city for some with my parents, but for the most part I was just out there with not many people to talk to. Must have been tough. I've lived my whole life in more urban areas, so I've grown used to always being around people. Even I prefer to be on my own at times. It's one of the reasons I enjoyed Haven. Having people around me again was incredible. I really imagined my future to be as a leader or mentor, but here we are. Life just sets you on a different path sometimes. Did you have a dream job beforehand? Still trying to figure myself out. Everyone expects you to have your entire life planned out by the time you're leaving high school. Oh, that's never happened in the history of ever. Things were that simple. I'm sure those people would be in debt with degrees they never wanted. You. A pilot. Really? Absolutely. I spent so much time on the internet just looking at so many different landscapes and cities. I want to travel to see them all. Being a pilot will also let me take people with that wanderlust to set destinations, so it's a win-win. Saw everything I could online about flying. Manuals, airplane schematics, wind patterns, and so much more. Even a flight simulator installed just like a practice. Smiled at the Bat, both from the confidence enjoying his voice and the humor of a Bat who can't fly normally, taking to the skies in a different way. There's also symbolic in a sense. That sheltered childhood leading to a craving of freedom exploration, something that could be found in pilotry. Sounds like a perfect job for you, kid. Thanks, I thought so too. We both been so distracted in conversation, neither of us had noticed the path coming to an end nearby. We're here. There was a shift in the atmosphere as Xavier prepared himself to see the suburb up close. The anxiety building up. Anxiety. Yes. I need to take a sip of my Coca-Cola. Excuse me. I considered suggesting we take a moment if he needed, but Xavier's gaze was firmly set forward as we strode towards the ruins. Our first introduction to the urban areas in this apocalypse. Fascinating. I kind of wish it wasn't a zombie-based apocalypse because that's what they are. They're zombies. They're just really creative zombies. But I wish it wasn't that because they're so overused. I kind of wish it was. Plus, I kind of wish it was set like 100 years after the apocalypse because that means so much more world building and so many more interesting ideas to bloom from your imagination. But you can't get everything, I guess. Like for me, I actually am still brainstorming something along those lines. Like it's 150 years after an apocalypse that was basically an illness. It wasn't a human illness, actually. It was a plant illness that specifically targeted food. And because of this, well, let's just say the human race basically died out. And over the 150 years, they found a way to cure the virus and all that sort of stuff. But they can only really cure it in short ranges of area, and they have to put it in. They have to like live inside like really secluded areas that they can control vigorously. And by the time of the book, 150 AA after apocalypse or whatever I'm gonna call it, basically the little all over the continent of America, because it's the one I know the best. These little tiny, maybe a mile in circumference and diameter little villages are all over the place, and they've like set up little communities and little different regional governments and stuff. And I'm actually in the process of making a conlang for this universe that they're going to use. I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. We're in the middle of the end reading. I really shouldn't be talking about my fucking projects here. Houses were what first popped into view, windows shattered and lawns overgrown. Few of the roofs. I don't think that's how you spell that, but okay. Few of the roofs had caved, sunlight streaming down upon whatever lay within. The greenery on the lawns had spread viciously, creeping up the walls and sunlight and streetlights, pushing its way from wherever it could. Oh, cool! So this is a green apocalypse, the best kind. The best kind of apocalypse, or the green apocalypse. That was another thing that's another thing with my little 150 years later story is that this virus was simultaneously taking out food supplies. It also made trees grow really big and in places that they used to not grow at all. So basically, the entire US is just one big forest. It's like Mother Nature said, "Fuck you for ruining nature. Here's the entire thing back." It's gonna be really interesting when I finally get around to it. Pan in particular, it thrived in, working out of the many cracks scattered underfoot as if desperate to reach the sun. Cars had begun rusting from where they lay in driveways, some lucky to remain intact compared to others. The unlucky had crashed into each other or whatever unfortunate object stood in their way, ash still charring their hoods. Had it not been for the thriving flora, the scene was overall miserable. It's hard to stare at the remains of what was once your present, now cast away to the past. Xavier kept a neutral face on, observing it all. Definitely wasn't easy, but he seemed to be taking it in stride. So, which way are we headed? I turned my head to the right. Base is up north. Trust me when I say you'll know when you see it. Let's go then, old man. No time like present and all that. Xavier strode forward confidently, wasting no time moving ahead. picked up a light jog to catch up with him. I admire the enthusiasm, kid. We need to be cautious. There needs to be a fucking comma here. So that's the fifth typo I have found. That's fucking five typos I found in this video. I don't know how I'm doing that, I just am. Outskirts may be safer, but it's still dangerous out here. All the more reason to reach Haven faster. You rush to make mistakes, though, it'll only cause more trouble than it's worth. Oh, that's a new spray. I continued before the back could interject. Okay, yeah. This might be because of his arm injury and all that, but this arm looks really thin compared to this arm. It's a bit of a jarring difference. Continue before the back interject. Get there in due time, Xavier. Impatience will lead our downfall. The moment, just take everything as we go, alright? Luke's about to try and rebuke that. Paused and took a deep breath instead. You're right. Patience is a virtue, as they say. I nudged him in the shoulder. Look at you, starting to sound like me. I was wondering why I felt extra wrinkly this morning. Ha ha, very funny. Tina rubbed down as we walked further into the suburbs and away from the trails where our journey started. Oh boy, something's gonna happen. Oh no. The more distance we put between ourselves and the outskirts, the less overgrown things became. Although the pavement was still riddled with cracks, it was somewhat easier to walk on. The conversation had died down a while ago as we took in the sights. Never got easier to know these were the same streets we walked before. It was once a vibrant society, the sounds of cars driving, children laughing as they played, people chatting as they talked, was now unbearable silence. I don't know about that, I like silence. I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking kidding. God, that would have been a really out of fucking nowhere thing to say in this scenario, but whatever. I do like silence though. That's why I like rural areas more than urban areas. The absence of city noise was eerie. The whistle of the wind blowing through hollow shells of homes taking up its place. We were starting to merge closer to the urban areas as shopping centers and apartment buildings began to pop up more frequently. So, yeah, this is an American writer. I can tell that from that. In particular, there were a few storefronts nearby. A convenience store, a nail salon, some kind of law office, and an antique shop were all lined up in a row. The rest of the shops were crushed by a fallen apartment building, but the separated parking garage that once accompanied it seemed mostly intact. It was exactly the area I've been intending to bring us for our next pit stop. Okay, kids, pause a moment. Babbitt seemingly zoned out as he snapped to attention at my words, taking a few moments to process them and respond. But I give out on you already. Following his lead from prior conversations, I continued as though he never said anything. Seems like a good area to start our final stop before Haven. What are we doing now? Another lesson. What do you see around us? They took a moment to look around. Ruined buildings like all the others we passed. And why would he stop in this area specifically? Practically hear the gears in his head turning. Oh, I know. Say it then. We had to get our nails done. Exactly, wait, what? They've got to have polish at the salon we can leave for some of the colors. I used to practice myself when I was home alone by some of my supplies. That way, when I have a friend to do it with, I'd be ready. Now, I think I... Oh my god. You're joking, right? Of course I am. Okay, good. You had me... Obviously, I got a pink. Oh my god. It was so close to connecting the dots. It had fallen so far from the purpose of the question, it was almost impressive. Because they would be so smart and mature at times, but so dense when it came to seeing the point. No, Xavier, you were on the right track, though. Oh, then why? We're to scavenge. Well, we can get supplies from Haven. This will serve as a good teaching moment. It'll help in the future, like on supply runs, for example. Not letting the opportunity escape him, Xavier brought his gaze to mine. So we can still get nail polish? I sighed. They have any leftover bottles? Sure. Sweet. Teach me the way of the scavenger then, mentor. Give an overly exaggerated bow to accentuate his point. Start in the most obvious place to look for resources, the convenience store. By now, though, it'll likely have been thoroughly looted. Still, never hurts to check because we do find something there and make things awfully convenient. Julian the unamused groan I got in response to my pun as we approached the store. Oh good, it finally changed backgrounds. I was gonna say... The pavement underfoot began to crunch as we stepped down the shattered remains of the big windows. I got a better look as we entered and saw that the inside had been pretty much what I was expecting. And the freezer doors had been smashed and left more glass and debris on the ground. The shelves were toppled and bearing nothing but empty bags. How many people even survived this? Also, is this worldwide or just America? Because, empty food bags, lottery tickets, receipt papers, and other miscellaneous garbage were strewn about. Call this a lesson, but in the end, it's more like common sense. I can provide a few tips that you should always rely on your instincts. For example, it's important that we leave no stone unturned. It's possible a can might have rolled under a shelf or over behind some pieces of broken ceiling tile. Got it. With the bare minimum said, the two of us began our search of the store. Xavier started by the shelves, checking to make sure everything was truly empty. Behind the counter, brushing aside the lottery tickets and empty cigarette packs that covered the area. Were things really this cheap? Beat my head up, confused with that statement. Another typo. That's 6 typos so far. Congratulations, you've reached your second column of whatever. What do you mean? The prices seem lower than I remember from when I got my pants to go shopping. Move from my position, and where my companion is to see what prices you're looking at. Sure enough, the cost is what you usually find in this type of place. Slightly more expensive than normal store where they can turn a profit. Not sure where you were taken to shop, but it must have been some kind of scam place. These are the prices you'll find at most corner stores. Regular ones, but yeah, they'll be even cheaper. Huh, I guess my life may be more pampered than I realized. You know, search as we talked. What'd your parents do for a living then? They always said they were janitors. And to break it to you good, but no janitorial job pays well enough for that. They either lie about the work or they had some other side business going. Might have been invested. Might have even invested some in the stock market or something. That tended to effectuate a lot, and I'm sure there would have been a lot more yelling over loss if that was the case. Besides, it's not really a thing, that's not a thing you'd really be ashamed of. Unless they invested in cryptocurrency or NFTs. Oh, what the fuck ever. The apocalypse hadn't ended things, environmental damage from those sure would have. How the fuck do those call environmental damage, what? Let's give a chuckle as our search of the store came to a close. But even have checked the back, and as most clerks would say, there was nothing extra in stock there. The 3 stores yielded similar results. I was lucky to find a mostly undamaged notebook in the law office, and Xavier found a few different polishes at the salon. Hoping to find something cool at the antique store, but half of it was also crushed by the building, and the front only offered some broken lamps. What the fuck is this? It's too bad about this place. Once stored antiques doesn't help become an antique itself. Xavier snorted. Really? That's your thought process. What's so wrong with it? Nothing. I just didn't realize you had a side job as a poet. I don't. Wisdom, however, comes my role as mentor. Alright then, what wise words you have about our journey so far? Let us follow this tale that begins to unfold, lest it be lost to time and memories. Where'd you steal that line from? Came up with myself. He was looking at his face, but he clearly didn't believe me. Okay, fine, it's probably opening to some fantasy game I played a while back. No idea why that part specifically stuck with me, but it did. It certainly came in handy here. That does something just introduction to a story. Now here's the one seen and narrated in life. Still you, if you're not indulged, I'm sure you'll get cranky. Roll my eyes at the bat. Back to my original point, though, I was almost hoping to find a typewriter here. I've always wanted one. I can't type online anymore. I thought it would have been a good substitute. I think there's a chance we'll find one out here. By the end of the world, what's a simple old machine can't do? Fair enough, so what's next? I don't think we'd be able to do anything with those other stories. There's still one place of interest we haven't checked. Oh boy, where are we going now? Oh, East Saiyan 0628 is now playing TF2. Cool. Snecky Boy is playing TF2, apparently. Hooked my thumb to the right in the direction of the parking garage and started walking. Why there? When most people focus on the stores, they often overlook cars. There's more to be found in them than you'd initially think. Like what? From personal experiences, I found some good blankets and pillows, a few backpacks, and a variety of self-defense items from pocket knives to pepper spray. More as it is, it can also be fun to try and piece together what kind of person drove that car. I would imagine that. Yeah, I'm very, very creative based, so I'd have way too much fun doing that. What someone has in their car can tell a lot about them. Did you have a car? I did. It's a nice sedan. What did you have in it? We don't need to discuss that. Something struck gold. Xavier intensified his stare as his smile widened. What was in your car, Alex? What are you hiding? Oh, look, we're here. We weren't, but I sped up to get closer and avoid any embarrassment. Wasn't sure if you could have anything that was damning. I just wanted to avoid giving that bat further ammunition. As we approached, I saw the ground ahead of us slanting downward. The entrance to the garage was underground, which was far less than ideal. It's time to turn back to avoid getting trapped inside or fighting in glory space should the situation come to that. But I knew this provided a good distraction for Xavier. Everything came with a little risk nowadays anyhow. We managed to find some good supplies too, it'd be for the best. We'll stake low with 3 floors. That way, should anything happen, we can manage a quick escape, or at the least make it outside of our better fighting ground. Then we should start at the 3rd and make our way down. It'd let us know any alternative escape routes. Now you're thinking, kid. Taking a scan at the surface level, I analyzed the environment and listened intently for any potential signs of danger. Light in the sky illuminated the streets began to take on the hues of sunset, providing me with enough of a view to see we're in the clear at the moment. Keep your waking out just in case we encounter something inside. Oh boy, we're in a parking garage now. Oh, water dripping. My companion and I entered the structure, me raising my spear as he drew out his bow and knocked an arrow from his quiver. Slowly but surely made our way up to the 3rd floor as he washed, and were luckily met with no threats. A fair amount of cars were scattered amongst the garage, leaving me with hope that we would be able to find some goodies amongst them. Xavier and I approached the nearest one so I could teach him some amateur breaking and entering. Oh boy, so 53 minutes. This video is pretty long. Cool. Well, not really. My videos for me that are long are like 2.5 hours. Okay, kid, first step is to scout out your quarry. Look through the windows and try to see if there's anything of value inside. Of course, things might not be as visible at first glance, but it's worth the effort as they can also tell you whether someone's a ransacked over themselves. Looking into the automobile, there didn't seem to be anything special about the interior at first. The floor was littered with trash, the owner likely having someone to only show themselves around. Looking closer, under one of the various food wrappers appeared to be a reusable water bottle. Xavier seemed to notice at the same time as our eyes locked. How do we get in then? Well, never try the door first. Very funny. As he said that, I grabbed the handle and pulled open the door with ease. Oh, you were serious. Pushing the trash out of the way, I grabbed the middle of the container and unscrewed the top. We both recoiled as a pungent odor from inside was released. Needs a good wash, but it seems to be usable otherwise. Both began to push more trash aside and dug for any of the trinkets while the musty smell of the car hang in the air. Now is the perfect time to start the game. What kind of person do you think owned this car? Someone horribly unorganized, that's for sure. But what else about them? Make a story out of it. That's the point of this game. Let's say. Xavier took a moment to examine the car for what little it was worth now. Definitely a guy owned this, likely somebody with an office job, but they got too busy to be able to cook at home properly, or manage the life things like work in the gym, so they took up the fast food instead. As it was blatantly easier, since they're the sole driver of this lazy automobile, they stopped caring about keeping it tidy, and would just throw the packages in here. Car itself seems to be an older model and probably wasn't in the greatest condition, even before the apocalypse. Compared to others that were parked here, they believe they get away with leaving it on lock to make things easier on them. Not longer to tell my companion to Woven. Not too shabby, kid. Like a storyteller to you yet. Golf clapped for the bag as they gave me a small bow. Thank you, thank you. Too bad there's nothing else of use here. It's the way it'll be a lot of the time. There's still one part of it to check, though. Click of the trunk popping open as I pulled the required lever drew our attention back there. Xavier walked over and peered inside. Anything in there? Just a spare tire. And paused. And it's flat too. This guy really needs to take better care of his things. Closed the door as Xavier simultaneously shut the trunk. Should cover your latest how-to lesson. Any questions? One big one comes to mind. How do I get in if the door isn't unlocked? You, my one-winged wonder, are in luck because I have a perfect and easy solution to that problem. Remember my background before drawing a small pouch, pouring a few of the ceramic shards into his hand. Immediately his eyes lit up. Holy shit! You have ninja rocks? Take you're familiar with them. Of course, I've seen tons of videos where they use it. I always wanted to try one myself. Now you can. Don't have a lot, unfortunately, so use them only if you deem a car worthy. Will do. As the bat excitedly walked out to try a car by himself, I moved on to one of my own. First one to catch my eye was a black hatchback situated near a corner of the lot, a chunk of cement denting its hood. Scanning the inside, I couldn't spot anything of interest, and to my disappointment, the door was locked as usual. Could have given up and went to the next vehicle, but a gut feeling told me there was something here. Taking out the pouch from my pocket, I removed one of the ninja rocks from inside and tossed it at the driver's side window. When the hard porcelain made contact with the glass, it immediately shattered it, allowing me to use the hilt of my spear to clear the shards from it. Silently thanked Haven for introducing me to these little miracle workers. Breaking tempered glass was so much easier now. Crushed from spark plugs, ninja rocks were small but sharp pieces of porcelain. In some places they were recognized as burglary tools. My door began to root around inside, but my instincts were right once more. Sure enough, packed away into the glove compartment was a folded up tarp. To be incredibly useful to Haven and could be used for some good trades. Satisfied, I slid down my pack and tried my luck with the rest of the car. As I did so, I simultaneously tried to piece together the story of who owned the vehicle. Maybe it was a younger woman, maybe early 20s or so, trying to make it on her own in the city. The car was a gift from her parents when she left home. Pick up a job as a grocery delivery person, do the room in her trunk. Didn't pay too much, but she could get by. She'd go on girls' weekends with her friends. When she could, bringing the tarp along, she'd think it too wet and wild. Convinced I'd nailed the story, I closed the car door and went to go find Xavier to find the tale he'd woven from his scavenging. He's gonna be missing, isn't he? Or is he gonna be there? Who knows? I don't know. I saw the bat stand next to a red sedan with its door open, his back to me. Hey kid, you stay out of the car's origin story yet? Remained silent and motionless as I approached. Xavier, you okay? Closing the distance, I took a look over the bat's shoulder to find his gaze concentrated on the item he was holding. A child's teddy bear. I recalled internally for having called him kid moments earlier as the harsh reality of the situation was setting in. Whoever owned this car in the past had a kid, and the likelihood of a child surviving this world was slim to none. Many parents who lost their children in the past year, all heavily mourned their losses, and some couldn't live on without them. It was a wish in life that a parent should never outlive their kid, but the cruelty of existence kept it as just that, a wish. Put a hand gently on Xavier's shoulder, stepping up his daze. You alright? I'm fine, I was just lost in thought for a moment. Brushed my hand off him and turned to face me. See, his fur was a bit matted from tears. Are you sure? It's okay if you're... I said I'm fine, let's get this over with. Beth walked past me in the direction of their car. I reached my hand out to call after him, but it felt like my mind was drawing a blank. I slowly let it drift down, back down my side as I watched him go. Bear was still clutched in his hand. Wow. Shit. Oh, see, it's an hour long now. Neat. Brought my spear against the car, lowered the sides, arched my back. The amount of times I'd have to bend over to rear around getting to me. Xavier and I finally managed to work our way back to the first floor, looting as many cars as we could find. Parking garage turned out to be better than I expected. We found a half-used pack of matches, a multi-tool, some duct tape, and had a huge stroke of luck in one car, having several cans of food. The majority of the first 4 vehicles turned out to be eluded, bringing a close to a task earlier than expected. One I just finished seemed promising, but produced nothing of value. Slammed the door closed to go and find Xavier, whose mood had brightened a bit since earlier, but something seemed off. The noise from shutting it felt quieter than it should have been. Oh boy. I did sleep at the garage, keeping an eye out for anything different from when we were down here earlier. A thought poked at the back of my mind, and I had the urge to test it. Picked up a piece of fallen concrete, tossed it to the ground in front of me to listen to its clatter. Once again, the sound was muffled. Fuck. This wasn't good. Over the past year, I had heard stories of this sort of thing happening, though the lost account had been so long ago I'd hoped it had vanished. There were too many stories of it. All so similar for me to pass it off as an urban legend. What few had claimed to have seen it, talked about its brutality, often leaving nobody alive in the process. I'd written down the common themes on its traits in my journal. Began to walk as quickly as I could, using the sides of my feet, a method that limited the noise made by your footsteps. Reached my bag to pull out the journal, flipping to the pages I had the day prior to find the entry. There. Silence. Rank S, status unknown. Height approximately 10 feet. Went on all fours. Okay, nah, I'm actually getting kind of spooked now. Holy shit. 10 feet on all fours. Fuck. Features: empty eye sockets, claws, fangs, rodent-like head, bony, near pitch-black skin. Drains all sound from the environment to heighten its own hearing. Range currently unknown. Theorized. Weaknesses unknown. Shit. This was by far the deadliest fated to have appeared. Should it be one and the same? We had special lockdown procedures in case it reared its haunting head. What little resonance that had accompanied the abandoned structure had been silenced, increasing my overall worries. The monster was closing in, and Xavier was completely unaware. I couldn't take the risk of calling his name as the creature heard and come running. He had to be careful. Moving at such a fast pace in an awkward way that was not easy on my feet, but I ignored the pain in favor of saving our lives. I rounded the ramp, going to the next floor, and narrowly avoided running straight into that. I wanted not to speak, but I clamped my mouth around his muzzle, causing him to struggle momentarily in surprise. Held up the journal entries, eyes drifting over and reading while the color drained from his face. Made eye contact again, and he nodded so I could let go of his snout. Gestured to my feet, so he could see how I was walking, and imitated, carefully moving towards the entrance. Looked behind to make sure Xavier was following suit. Oh my god, this is... fuck. This is actually really tense, and I like it a lot. Some method was a bit awkward at first, but he soon got the hang of it as we continued forward. Silently moved around the wall to the exit ramp, holding my hand out behind me to stop my companion from going any further. Peeked my head out to view the world above, watching carefully for any sign of the silence. Felt its footsteps moments before it came into view. Oh, oh, that thing. is hideous. God, I want to take a fucking screenshot of this so I can use it for my fucking thumbnail. I'm gonna pause real quick. Alright, I'm back. And I took a fucking thumbnail. Oh boy. Anyway. Large and lengthy, its pitch black skin stretched over what the untrained eye would believe was a seemingly weak frame. Its ears twitched as the hollow sockets of its rodent skull stared into nothingness. Its mouth hung agape, something dripping off the fangs within as it seemed to be panting. What I had written from witnesses was accurate, but more terrifying than in person than I ever could have imagined. I was grateful the evening sky illuminated as encountering this creature at night would have been fatal. The stranger could barely hear my own heartbeat. The rest of the world utterly quiet. My breathing matched the fated zone as I turned my head slowly to look at Xavier. I silently mouthed my words to him. Whatever you do, don't make a sound. He nodded, but his face was framed with confusion. Chilling imitated on a pull, results in my own confusion before he gave a slight thrust of it forward in a stabbing motion. Horror dawned on me as I realized what he was asking. My haste and panic, I left my spear behind the car. Shit. Xavier must have seen the terror in my eyes as he gripped his bow tighter and waited. Him having to be our sole fighter at the moment should have come to that. I cursed internally for letting myself make such a dumb mistake. What slim odds of survival we had were made even slimmer. Brought my eyes back to the silence and watched at the top of the ramp, listening. We held our position for several minutes, not daring for a second to try any further movement in case of the worst. Raised a paw, beginning to step in our direction. Whatever noise it had heard us make earlier, I must have decided it was enough to investigate. Before I could even signal to Xavier, however, its head jerked upwards, and my head skipped a beat. Our cover blown, so it broke into a dash and bounded left out of sight. Holy shit. The environment gradually gathered its ambience once more as the monster left. Xavier and I are still too terrified to make a move. When I deemed it safe enough, I ran to grab my spear and met back up with the bat. Shared a look of understanding and carefully snuck our way up the ramp. There was no sign that the silence was here anymore. And now I broke into a sprint and ran off into the distance, my eyes momentarily drifting to where it had stood. A small pool of blood sat in the ground, rippling from our movement. We weren't the first thing that had hunted that day. Oh boy. How about we call it here for now? During for a long while, we slowed down to speed walk in an attempt to put as much distance between us and silence as possible. Their amount of ground had been covered, so I was feeling a little better about stopping here, though the anxiety was ever present. The sun was nearly out of sight now, and what little rays remained would be useful in setting up the tent and fire. Where should we camp then? I don't feel so comfortable doing it in the open or in any of these rickety houses. Bat had a point, but I was accustomed to the feeling. You can check the backyards. There should be one with a mostly intact fence. Xavier nodded and started off toward the nearest house without another word. Things had been quiet since we left, our focus on fleeing rather than conversation. Yet I couldn't help but feel there was some other tension residing there. It seemed almost distant now, and I wasn't entirely sure why. Most likely reason was everything over the past few days while it was finally taking its toll. After a few tries, I managed to find a suitable one and settled down. Night now in full effect just as we finished. We sat around the flames. I pulled the fate I got from my backpack and handed over the bat. Here, you asked for this yesterday, and after earlier, it's probably useful to give this a read now. Thanks, Alex. The journal stared at for a few moments, fingers tracing the edges like he was lost in thought. Shook himself out and began flipping through the pages as I stared at the fire, he providing some sliver of comfort. I'd hoped it would start up a conversation, but the bat read silently in the firelight. My thoughts began to drift as a lack of talk left with nothing to do but think. I passed so many buildings today, walking along streets that I'd been on a year prior. Scenery was full of echoes of the past, as if they came crawling to life as the memories flooded my brain. Countless days of wanderings I craved away to escape a busy life as a youth. Step after step of trying to kill time while wait for my life to come from work. Strolling right alongside him, drawing from the endless well of comfort that came with being around him and wondering how I'd gotten so lucky to find him. It's a fickle thing, trying to find that sense of belonging each of us yearn for so desperately. You have it sometimes and you feel relaxed, till it's gone and you're left reflecting on it all. Each street post and lawn ornament may have been something to glance past once, but each held significance to what would be now because they're my old life. Reminded me of the past I wish could be my present and future, the emotional surges of my memories holding both good and bad times alike. There is so much I regret having never done when I had the chance, opportunities lost and paths never taken. God, really? You're seriously doing this shit. You never truly realize the things in life you take for granted until you find everything you've ever known stripped from you. It really makes you think of what you have now in the moment. Wow, talk about cliche. Have you truly lived your best life if you find yourself full of so many regrets? I asked the question under my breath, exhaling with a fraction of the worries that like to run rampant in my head. I don't know. Startled from my stupor, not realizing Xavier had heard my pondering. And to explain myself, but I continued his train of thought instead. It depends a lot on the person, I think. Some prefer to coast by, taking whatever way is easy for them, allow the grievances to push past. They focus on letting things go and moving on, almost like they're afraid of conflict in the real world. He sighed before speaking again. And then there's others, those in life who want to do more, want to be more, who feel trapped. They struggle and fight to forge a path in life that they want, oftentimes suffering because of it. All they want to do is be themselves, but sometimes they be blind to their own reality and not see it for what it truly is. A prison. They're almost like those old stories of an heir in a tower. They only know that what they're told peacefully in said tower. It's the one life they've known. They foolishly trust the people keeping them there because why wouldn't they? They haven't done anything to purposely hurt them, at least that they know of. The cracks form, gaps in trust. Slowly but surely, that window keeping them in the world begins to resemble a spider web. This is not natural dialogue at fucking all. This is not natural dialogue. And when the day comes that the glass shatters, does everything up until that point count as their best life? Or does their life truly begin from that moment forward? And like the air, we don't often have someone to rescue us and change our fate. We have to do that ourselves. It's not as easy to escape on our own. You may even succeed only to have the world bite you just for trying to be yourself. This is so fucking unnatural. And what the fuck is so wrong with just being you? Who are this to say it's not okay to be who you are just because it's not their own life? That's why it makes everything sound so much more difficult. The world rejects you, why not just run back to that safety net of the false reality you were given? That can only last so long, though. That trust is already broken, and despite how much you try and pretend that it's fixed, despite not even addressing the issue, it all becomes a ticking clock. This is not fucking natural. This is not natural fucking dialogue at all. It counts down the minutes until you don't even know you have until the rug is ripped out from under you and you'll fall into darkness. You're left alone and confused and trying so desperately to figure out what the fuck happened, where it all went wrong. Wondering if it was your fault, if you deserve to be trapped like this. The silence slowly drives you mad as time passes. This is not natural. I've said it so many times now, but I'm going to say it again. This is not natural dialogue. It isn't. Not what we know about Xavier. This does not seem like it would come from him. This seems like the fucking author's spouting bullshit at you. And all you can do is wait until one day the will becomes loud again. Xavier pauses, staying to wipe the tears from his eyes. We can't know these are the best lives because no matter what, there will always be regrets over our actions. The life we have now is the one we've got, so we shouldn't focus too hard on the past about what the pain may lie there. We should focus on bettering our future by improving our present. It's not. Don't think he would talk like that, to be completely honest, but okay. I guess the author just wanted to preach at us for no fucking reason. Oh boy. Xavier was trying his best to keep his face neutral, an attempt at holding back from further tears and averting meeting my gaze. Didn't know much about his past, but it was clear the speech wasn't just his opinion. He'd been talking about himself. There was so much of Xavier I didn't know, put in perspective just how little time we'd actually spent together. Whatever traumas he'd faced, the impact of the world at large was causing all the emotions he'd hidden away to bubble up again. Couldn't stand seeing my friend like this, so clearly in pain. I know we wanted to talk it out properly at Haven, but he needed a release right now. Gently, I got up from my seat and stepped toward the bat, wrapping him in a tight hug as his facade crumbled further. You are who you are, and that's okay. Everything will be okay. And the damn burst of the tears began to flow once more. Xavier clutching at me as he sobbed in my chest. Sat there holding each other until under the starry night as the bat let out all the negative that had built up inside. Whatever it was that his past held, I'd find out in due time. Everything would be answered eventually, but right now I wasn't the one in need. Xavier was. What I needed was a friend. Cool. That was a really emotional moment and all, but I don't really feel emotional when the dialogue that was spouted there didn't sound natural at all. It didn't fit Xavier as a character. It sounded like the author wanting to insert stuff that wouldn't fit the character at all. And I know some idiots are going to be like, oh, you're just being overly negative. No, I'm not. I actually like this project and I want it to be good. So I'm trying to critique it like you do. For fuck's sake, I'm so sick of these idiots thinking that critique has to be so gentle and so, oh, maybe you could fix this and this and this. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't work for me. And if it doesn't work for the author, I'm not going to fucking waste his time by being gentle about it. Honestly, that's not even the worst I could have gone to. I could have been way more cruel. Limbs had died down significantly over the past few hours. I poked them in an effort to pass the time. Xavier and I had sat quietly there for a while. My arm wrapped around his shoulders, he let himself feel everything he'd pushed down. Eventually, I told him to get some rest while I took a watch, so he could sleep more peacefully. He was reluctant at first, but eventually went along with it after some convincing. It was better at least one of us slept tonight. Sure, I did think the kid needs some time to doze in order to help slough out some emotional weight. Slim Tom was also unsure. He'd insist on staying up all night with me if he knew that's what I was doing. Through the encounter with the silence earlier, I'd tried to brush away the thoughts of it, but ran out of mind and started racing them when I tried to avoid the topic. I'm so close to dying yet again, and I made another stupid mistake. It was a blessing that thing didn't come after us. We probably would have been toast otherwise. How would I survive this long if I kept fucking up like that? Was I just lucky the whole time? Or was I? No. I needed to stop this train of thought, not wallow my idiocy any further. There were more pressing concerns at the moment. An example, just because he'd run away didn't mean I had left the area. The monster could still be lurking somewhere close by. Fire might call attention to other things lurked in the shadows, whether I was at my chance with them. The crackle would provide notice should it draw near. Another point my favorite was the clear sky overhead, the moon particularly bright for whatever reason, provided much needed light in the world below. The backyard had an almost ghostly glow to it from the moonlight, meaning I'd be able to see should anything disturb us. Speaking of disturbing sights, my mind was brought back to where when we fled earlier, and I glanced back. Whose blood was that? There was every possibility it was a random stranger, but the thought was still unnerving that someone had been so close and we had no clue. Could we have helped him? I doubt it. We'd never know how anyway, that chance lost to the past. We couldn't even know whether they were an ally or an enemy. That thought alone unsettled me even more. What if they were from Haven? They'd lost that polar bear earlier to send me a message, and if they lost another one so soon, that would affect whatever morale they'd mustered. This could all be discussed further when we arrive. For now, I just have to keep watch. If I get too distracted, who knows what might sneak up on me. Alex? Like that. But I'll have to keep him crying out, releasing a startled and pained grunt instead. The third time today, the bat had startled me. Savior, swear I'll put a bell on you if you keep startling me like that. I'm not interested in indulging your fetishes at the moment, old man. Except it's about happy to see a small smile on his face. That release from earlier must have done its work. Sure. Promise I don't bite too hard. I don't have a thing for dentures either, sorry. We let out a small laugh at each as we talked quietly to each other. But previous lighthearted atmosphere returned with a warm welcome. Slid the pocket watch out and checked it. Surprised to see that even if I had intended to wake him up, he was early. What are you doing up anyhow? I've got at least an hour left on my shift. I couldn't actually sleep. I've just been tossing and turning for a while now. You want to come keep me company then? He's sitting alone, doesn't it? Fair enough. Patted the ground next to me as the bat took his seat there. I could take over if you want to give it a try. Shook my head in response. A pass. I was actually intending to let you sleep tonight. You didn't have to do that. I'd be fine taking a wash. Sure you would have too, but you needed it more than me. Besides, I have too much mind right now, but it seems you do too. You would say that again? I'm sure you would have. My bad joke was cut off by a shove from my companion's smile on his face. Very funny. What shall we do then? We could just talk as we've been doing. I guess, but I feel better on the move. You said we aren't too far from Haven earlier. We should be close, but it'd be more difficult to traverse with the darkness. Seems like the moonlight will help significantly with that. It took a moment to ponder it. Honestly, I'd rather put more distance between us and that creature than sit here. Stood up, brushing off the dirt from my pants. Let's get going then. They're gonna die. Used to the ritual by now. We quickly gathered our things and exited the backyard to the nighttime streets. With the moonlight so vibrant tonight, it made it easier for us to see where we were going and not trip as we navigated the nearest intersection. Having lived in the city, you get used to the ever-present light pollution invading the sky from the buildings below. So when all that light suddenly vanishes, your nights are suddenly a lot darker than you're accustomed to. The shadows vast and ominous. I was not more appreciative of the moon ever since, and I hope that somewhere out there Marshall was staring up at it with me. I never realized just how lit the sky is with stars. I glanced at the bat who was gazing upward with me. Beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely. Looked at the nearby street sign to realize they were closer to destination than I thought. Picked up the pace slightly as I continued my hushed conversation with Xavier. Do you ever wondered what might be out there so far above us? You mean other than planets and stars? Yeah, it's possible life exists out there considering how vast it is. Think we'll ever encounter it? Perhaps one day, if we haven't already. Oh, please don't tell me you're one of those aliens walk among us types. Of course not, but there are plenty of probes that have been sent to deep space. We could have made contact with the reals if one of them was faulty. For the sake of your entertainment, sure. Fuck you. He might be on his way for you right now. Luckily for me, I have my own earth and wolf to keep me grounded. Continued to trek forward in comfortable silence, me softly humming a song he used to frequently listen to while Xavier hummed his own tune. Noise would be a simple but effective way to tell if the silence neared again now the conversation was absent. In the distance, the vague outline of our destination rested on the horizon above the houses. I tapped Xavier on the shoulder and pointed in its direction. There it is. You know, you never told me what exactly Haven is. Say for yourself. Is it a ship? Is it a mansion? What is it? Turning the street corner at the end of the block stood two massive wrought iron gates with stone walls lining either side. Beyond them were large structures of various sizes, and pushing them further back, an expanse of grass with pavement interwoven amongst it. All this could be seen as mostly silhouettes for the moment, meaning from here Xavier couldn't read the sign that labeled the place. A nagging feeling began to tug at my stomach as we advanced and the location came into proper view, allowing Xavier to piece things together. Haven is Haven is a university campus. Brilliant, right? Dorms are for the survivors, a mess hall for meals, auditoriums for meetings are to teach the flying young. Walls surrounding is perfect to keep us safe. Plus, it's full of textbooks to teach future generations. Your Morse code book can find a place among the ranks. Wow, points to them. Thanks. Wait, what? Who said you caught any? You just did. I helped found Haven, remember? Did you suggest the campus? No, Rhea did, but points to Rhea then, not you. Who is Rhea? Another co-founder. She and her wife basically run the place. And drawn appropriately close at the sign out front finally became clear enough to read. Haven University. Oh, so that's where the name came from. That was a point of inspiration for it, yes. Stopped suddenly. My mind finally piecing together what was wrong. Alex, what's wrong? There's no light. As I stared into the campus, I saw there wasn't a single light source to be found. Well, it is pretty late. Are you sure they aren't just asleep? I'm sure. Since we started taking refuge here, they always had at least two guards by the front with torches. There's a single reason as to why they break protocol like this. Haven is in lockdown. Said lockdown brought everyone to the basements across the various buildings. It was only initiated when a truly malicious enemy was near. My fears from earlier resurfaced. Xavier's train of thought seeming to follow mine. Lockdown from who, or worse, from what? I don't know. Could it be the silence? It's not outside the realm possibilities, that's for sure. My mind drifted back to the pool of blood from earlier. Had it attacked her already? No, the blood would have dried to its skin by the time it got to us. Lockdown had been more recent than that. Began humming again, slightly louder than before to test the volume. Sound hadn't dulled, meaning we were still safe. Stay close, I need to get to safety. Began to follow the perimeter of the campus, continuing my song as I went. Why aren't we just scaling the wall of the front gate? It seems quicker and easier. During procedures like this, Haven keeps a back door in case any scouting parties return when it's commenced. In the off chance something made it on the premises will be safer for us this way. I just hope they left it unlocked then. We crept alongside the large stone walls, struggling to see much of anything due to the elongated shadows they produced. If one thing were to go as planned today, for the love of God, it would be this one. The soft hums were gentle in the air as our final stop neared. How did we get in? I doubt there's a proper door. That underground passageway. The founder of this place, the Goldhaven family, from which it was named, created tunnels during the Prohibition era to smuggle substances into their home on the estate. Pointed to a statue in the distance, a stone carving of the Fennec founder. Just below there. Suddenly, something metallic hit the ground in front of us. A small metal canister was rolling our way. What the? Took a step backwards from the stone, but was too late. A loud hissing noise filled the air. Didn't know what was happening. I ran with the bat. We could still get away. Turned, prepared to sprint. And was greeted. It was created by two individuals, a human sitting next to a lion companion, who an increasingly Xavier, a claw pressed to the face. My spear began to raise the weapon before I felt fabric covering my face as well. I stroked against the grip of my attacker as best I could. Whoever he was bigger and stronger than me. I was growing dizzier by the second the longer the rag was held there. Shoveling the hilt of my spear backwards, I heard a satisfying grunt of impact as the grip loosened. Bit forward and stumbled as soon as I fell to my knees. couldn't myself go down here, not now. Measure was a glimpse upward at the third member who held me, a polar bear, as a human woman, stepped forward with a grin plastered on her face. You're quite the fighter. Boss Ebb's gonna love you. Excitement in her tones, I felt a kick to my side, sent me sprawling to the ground. Gaze drifted to the statue in my hand. I was stretched towards it. We'd come so close. Well, shit. The last moments of my consciousness, a single word came to mind of what had transpired as I was unwillingly dragged into slumber. Bandits. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well then, interesting. Yeah, I knew it couldn't have been that fucking simple. Anyway, now I can talk about the update. First, I need to go and piss. I'll pause. Alright, so, this update was pretty decent. The really standout moments were obviously the, little scene with the silence and, the emotional with Xavier, near the end. But, there were 8 typos I saw, so those can be possibly rewritten because they need to be. Period. They just need to be. And of course, the writing was still decent. I liked it. This is a really original story, at least in this field, because there's basically 0 post-apocalypse stories in Peruvians that I've seen ever. So that's cool. I'm gonna be excited to see what the next update brings. I mean, obviously we're kidnapped and there's bandits and blah 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 bullshit. Cool. I mean, it's pretty cliche. They just get to safety, and then all of a sudden, oh no, bandits are here, and they've got 2 main characters and all that shit. Yeah, it's pretty cliche, but hopefully the author this is able to use it in a way that makes sense and isn't completely ridiculously cliche. That's all I can hope for. Anywho, thank you for watching this episode, and yada yada yada. I'll see y'all fuckers next time.